today. Let me share my slide deck. Okay, can everybody see that? Thumbs up. Okay, so welcome to our Analyst information session. I'm Heather Jones. I'm the Federal Compliance Officer and Intern Program Manager here. Our presenters today are two of our current interns. If you guys want to introduce yourselves and say hi.
Hi everyone, I'm Terrence Quafo. I'm a commercialization analyst at the Office of Technology Management, also a PhD candidate in plant biology.
Hi everybody, my name is Marcos Lopez. I am a 2L law student over at the College of Law here at U of I, and my background in undergrad was in chemistry and biochemistry.
We do have a couple of interns and a couple of current tech managers on to help us with any questions that might come up later. So I just also wanted to say this is meant to be conversational. So if you have a question during a slide, feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question. Jump in whenever you feel like you need to. This is kind of how things will go. We'll give just a brief overview of what we are, what the internship is, what we're looking for, why you should apply, and then kind of wrap things up with the process and timeline of how things are going to go. And then I'll turn it over to Terrence and Marcos.
This is me. Okay, so what OTM does. So the Office of Technology Management is our tech transfer office here at the University of Illinois. For those of you who maybe are in PhD programs right now, you might have interacted with our office before. Essentially, what we're trying to do is protect and promote university IP, and specifically the new things that are being invented in labs all over our campus. The idea is that if something has commercialization potential, whether that's like forming a startup, or whether that is licensing it out to an existing company, we want to help get that IP protected and hopefully try to get some make some revenue for the university. To that end, we market and license patents, trademarks, and other sorts of things that are being invented around the university, both to startups and established companies. As an intern, there's a 1-year commitment if you're in the program. And specifically what your role is you're sort of at the very beginning of the process of figuring out what we're going to do. Essentially, university researchers will disclose to us an invention report that will contain sort of what they believe their new invention is, or what they would like us to investigate should offer protection. And then as an intern, you will have a meeting with that inventor or group team of inventors, sort of work to understand what that technology is, and then evaluate whether or not we're going to move forward with commercializing it, whether through patents, trademarks, or any other sorts of protections that we might take. And then there's also additional opportunities beyond sort of that initial screening process to get involved, including with like the patenting people here, with marketing and like listing these technologies on our different marketing platforms, and also helping the technology managers license out these agreements and helping them write those licensing agreements.
And so these are these are products that were once inventions at the University of Illinois, and all these pass through our Office of Technology Management through the process that Marcus just mentioned. So University of Illinois does not make these products, but we can license these inventions to licensees who turn them into products for commercial use. And so we are at a very unique position here to see some of these cool inventions from the university. For example, the NCSA Mosaic was one of the first web browsers to kind of like include both graphics and text, and that was released in 1993. And that kind of like spurred the revolution around communication, entertainment, and also paved the way to new browsers currently. Additionally, the Morton Sweet Corn Illinois Super Sweet Hybrid was also developed here at the University of Illinois. And one cool thing too is like our local brewery, Briggs, who the owner is actually a UIUC alum, uses university developed wheat through our awesome small grain breeding program for one of their beers, which is called the Hefeweizen. And if anyone wants to chime in for some of these other cool inventions.
One, don't quote me if I'm wrong, but the sweat patch diagnostic, I'm pretty sure either someone that won or was in a different race for the Illinois Marathon was wearing that when they were racing. So like really prevalent. These are super cool. And also it's a chance to just kind of like read and see what's going on at the university that you'd have no idea about, and then learning about all the different cool things that different labs are working on, different products that are coming out for various different things. So it's an awesome opportunity.
I can begin. So this is a typical week at OTM is pretty flexible. So I think both Terrence and I will talk about like what our schedules have looked like, but in general, you're going to be working 10 hours. The expectation is around 10 hours a week, obviously flexible depending on workload, but in general, that's the expectation. And then the only really, I guess, mandatory part of the job is we have Thursday morning meetings at 8:30 a.m. at the office. And that's where you'll basically do your presentations on the text that you've been screening for the past few weeks and presenting them to the entire office. So that way we can have a discussion about whether or not we're going to move forward with commercializing them. In addition to that, you're in constant communication with our technology managers, some of whom are on this call right now. And then you're also communicating, between the technology managers and the professors to coordinate meetings, have any follow-up interviews if necessary, and, show them any pieces of background art that you may have found or other things to sort of get their opinions about it. And then in terms of the remote versus in-person responsibilities, the idea is that hopefully you try to do a 50-50 split where you're spending 50% of your time in the office and 50% of your time out of the office. But again, that's also flexible as long as you're getting your work done. I think the in-person helps with getting to know not only the other commercialization analysts and getting to like know them better, but also getting to know the other members of the OTM staff better.
Yeah, and I could talk a little bit about this as well. So we also have licensing meetings on Tuesdays, and that's not mandatory, but I'm interested in learning about licensing of some of these technologies. So I try my best to attend some of those Tuesday meetings in the morning, and that I usually attend it remotely, which is awesome about this job in terms of like this flexibility. And so when it comes to some of the desired skills we are looking for as a commercialization analyst, verbal and written communication skills are really important because you'll be presenting your findings in a presentation to guide decision making about some of these disclosed inventions. And so you want to be able to do that clearly, concisely, and not just that, but being able to communicate well with technology managers, inventors during interviews, and also building good rapport with them. I'm sorry, my cat is making a lot of noise in the background. Um, and so you also want to show, right, that you're interested in technology transfer. You will also and most likely be working on multiple inventions across different disciplines. And so you need to be able to manage them while keeping track of your progress and also balancing that with your research and coursework. And the managers are very well understanding in terms of like figuring out time scales and just managing your time well with the different technologies that you have that you're working on. Additionally, having a science and technical background is preferred since most of the inventions we get are in those areas, and you would work on inventions outside of your field of study. So that makes having a technical background key. Also, additionally, prior experience in business or commercial setting is preferred but not required.
So what's in it for you if you're a part of the commercialization analyst class? It's a super fun time and it's really intellectually stimulating. Just like Terrence was just talking about, you're getting a variety of technologies in a bunch of different areas across the university. And so for me, I really love that even though I'm a law student, I still get to like stay in contact with, I guess, like my STEM roots from undergrad, get to learn like what's happening around the university through the tech screenings and then also through those Thursday morning meetings by seeing what other people those texts that they have been working on. In addition, you have a ton of on-the-job training, and a lot of these skills are highly transferable to a bunch of different fields, both intellectual property, marketing, and licensing. I think if you're interested in a career that intersects with science and that, These are a ton of great skills that you can gain from being a commercialization analyst. And in addition to that, the communication skills are really key. Being able to not only communicate between other people, but communicate effectively science to people who maybe aren't as understanding about it, because our a group is a variety of people who both have technical experience and don't have technical experience. So being able to sort of reduce this cutting edge research into a way that everybody can understand what's going on, I think is a really important skill to learn, especially if you want to go into something like intellectual property or marketing for these technologies, because being able to communicate that to somebody who might not have that expertise is really critical. In addition, the University of Illinois' tech transfer program is actually really well known in the tech transfer community specifically, and our people at our office have gone to other universities, helped them, and like sort of advised them in their how they can improve their tech transfer offices, including starting programs that are like this commercialization analyst program. I think finally, it's also great for networking. We have tons of alums who are in a variety of fields. You'll see people who are in tech transfer, people who are in patent and IP, people who just went and started their own startups, and there's also a couple university professors. So we have people who are doing a variety of things.
I'd also say that even if you wanted to stay, say, like in a STEM related field, if you are like a PhD student of some form, like even just having the business knowledge will really enhance your ability to apply to different places because they want to understand that you not only just understand the science and can move a project forward that way, but also understand the big picture of like, is this worth investment? Can you do risk management of like, okay, we're just drowning resources into this project that shouldn't really be working. You kind of have those problems that you'll say is like, if is this technology, while it is novel, is it worth investing in? So you kind of have to do that already. And so when you can apply that to different aspects, I mean, if you don't have to stay in IP to have these skills transfer across all disciplines pretty much.
Here are some statistics, and as you can see, a lot of the people who go through this internship end up in IP or tech transfer work in some shape or form, which is pretty cool.
Okay, so the details on specifically applying. So our application process is sort of like a twofold process here. There are 9 total positions available for commercialization analysts, and everybody's paid at $25 an hour, regardless of whether you're a JD, master's, or a PhD student. And then if you are selected for it, you will have a 2-week mandatory training that will begin on May 18th, 2026, which is right after finals for those of you who are in classes right now. And the expectation is a 1-year commitment. And that's so if you're working in the summer, it's 35 hours a week if you're like a law or a master's student, but if you're a PhD student, it'll be 10 hours a week after that initial training period. And then if you are a law student, I don't think I see any on here, but in case I'm missing anybody, law students, if like this is like something you're willing to commit full time to, you don't have another job over the summer, it would be 35 hours a week. But if you do have a job, you can also start when you come back from that internship in the summer and begin in the fall. And then during the fall and spring semesters, you'll be again at 10 hours a week for everybody. And that's for both fall 2026 and spring 2027. And then we get breaks for finals weeks and breaks as well. But if there is work, people have worked over breaks and stuff like that as well.
And also, like, if something is coming up, say like a big exam or degree requirement that's not unique to like the whole year, you can also like talk to the TMs and the lead tech manager or lead intern and be like, hey, I actually need like a little bit of time off, like a week or two where I'm not working on text because I'm really, drowning in my workload otherwise. And people are really understanding about that. Well, figure it out. So even if you're like, I'm free for the whole year, except for 1 or 2 weeks that doesn't align with a holiday, like that, don't be deterred. Like that can happen still.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I have nothing else. You go.
All
You
right.
go.
Okay. So in terms of application timeline, and so the resume and cover letter are due by March 6th. And this can be submitted via Handshake, Simplicity, or just emailing those materials to Heather at this email address. If you are accepted, After our initial screening, you will be invited for a case interview. That case interview will be during the week of March 23rd. And the case interview is an hour process that is split into two blocks. And so in the first 30 minutes, you will be given a technology for you to assess full patentability and commercialization, which is what you'll be doing as an intern anyway. And so we'll provide you guided questions that will help you with your assessment. And then the second part is another 30-minute that involves sitting with a panel consisting of technology managers, Heather, staff, and some interns. And there you will be asked questions about the technology, yourself, and why you're interested in this role. And so offers will be made on April 2nd, and the deadline to accept that is April 10th. And for PhD candidates, you will need a written approval from your advisor before accepting the position. And so your advisor should send a written approval to Heather saying that, yes, you can do this. And definitely recommend discussing with your advisor before going through the whole process. Yeah. Is there anything I'm missing?
I will say that before the case interviews, if you're going to be invited to interview, those emails will be going out during spring break. So just a heads up to pay attention to your email during that time so that you can get your interview scheduled.
Great. Questions?
And that's it. Any questions? Okay, great. Well, thanks, Terrence and Marcos. Great job.
I think we have a question actually.
Oh,
From
sure.
Tanya.
Go ahead.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my question was actually pertaining to the case interview. So I'm sorry, I did not quite get it. So would we be presented with like a hypothetical tech and we'd be expected to like talk about it, or like can I just get more clarity about the case interview?
Yeah, I can touch on that. So when we did the case interview last year, essentially you will walk. So the interview is like an hour long. When you first walk in, you'll basically be given this packet, which I believe is a real tech disclosure that we've received in the past.
It is.
And then we'll sit you down at a laptop in the commercialization analyst's office, and you'll basically have 30 minutes of time to yourself just to sort of research and figure out, try to understand the tech, read through the disclosure, and sort of try to fill out those guiding questions that we'll provide for you. And then after that 30 minutes has finished, you'll then move into the interview portion where we will ask you questions about the tech, what you were able to find, what you feel about whether or not you would move forward with commercialization, and then also other just general interview questions there. So you're not expected to know what it is. The whole point is that it's supposed to be a brand new tech that you wouldn't like really know much about until you walk in and you get that packet.
Bora, you have a question?
Yes, so hello, I'm Bora. I'm a first-year master's student in psychology, and I'm an international student, so I had like some questions about that. So, do you accept international students with CPT in your internships?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, then what fields of study did students come from? Because like I'm in psychology, but like it does have a lot of connections to computation skills and like technical skills. So I was wondering if this internship could be like a very relevant thing to my major so that I can write for CPT.
Yeah, so I think that the sort of your technical ability, we've had all sorts of backgrounds, and it's really more about the person and how they can adapt, how willing they are to move into fields that they're not necessarily familiar with. I mean, all the interns, no matter what their background, are going to be forced. Forced maybe is too strong of a word, but required to dip their toes into fields they're not, studying or have ever studied, and even that's true for tech managers. I have a background in chemistry and microbiology, but I have to deal with a lot of engineering and computer science, and by no way am I an expert, but I'm functionally competent in that just by self-training. So it's quite all right. Your background, it's more about the person than the background.
Okay, thank you. Oh, go ahead.
I can jump into you're really going to be using your foundation of research skills. That's going to be most of what you're doing. So obviously having a technical background in something STEM is going to kind of give you a leg up so you don't have to look up everything in different foundational information. But also like for the most part, if you're in a graduate program, like you're doing some form of research, whether it's, studying and reading in law school or doing like psychology research, like you're saying, it's like you're going to have to dip a lot into that of like, okay, I don't understand this paper topic or whatever. Let me dive into it and understand it, and then be able to teach other people in a room, essentially. In terms of how it can actually impact your major, it's going to be more of like, do you like this aspect of kind of like a career path, and like do you want to try that? I don't know how much it'll go back and actually add towards like credit for your major or anything like that.
Okay, thank you.
Chantrice?
Hi, I'm Shantrice. I'm a master's in information management student. And I just wanted to ask the current interns what helped you best prepare for the case interviews. I understand that the topic you're supposed to be tested on a technology that's supposed to be completely new to you, but is there anything you did to prepare to do well?
I don't want to speak for everybody, but I didn't really do any prep for it because I just had like from the what I had learned from the re information session last year, I knew it was going to be pretty random. So like I think it would be almost a fool's errand to like I wouldn't recommend, for example, going through all the professors' websites at the U of I and like trying to figure out who is like doing what, because that's like there's so many people doing so much cool research and like you don't know who's disclosed to us or how long ago we're going to pull the technology from. So again, I think just like what Sammy was just saying, the basic research skills of being able to take a packet of information that's probably going to be about a field that you're not familiar with and knowing immerse yourself in that field in 30 minutes, I think that's what I would practice if you could practice that. Whether it's like a Wikipedia rabbit hole game or something like that, that might be the best. But I don't have any.
Yeah, and I
Any
would
other.
just add to that becoming slightly familiar with the patent process or what a patent looks like, claims and that sort of thing, because you will be asked about, protecting it, statutory protections, so a little bit of comfort maybe on the copyright side, trademark, that sort of thing. But I think the main thing is just to be authentic. If you don't know something, that's okay. You don't know it, right? 30 minutes isn't a lot to become an expert on anything. So we're not expecting that, but we want to address your, ability to deal with the situation, which is stressful. How you go about what your thought process is on digesting that material and what your strategy would be. So it's quick and dirty, but yeah, having some familiarity with the patent process would be useful. Not just what a patent looks like and what it covers would be, probably the depth of which you would need to go into.
I'd also look at the OTM website and just see what the office that you're trying to be employed at does. And then usually you can get some hints of like certain, at least sections of what a question might be, such as like commercialization, since it's partially in the name. Like, what does that kind of look like? I'd look into just primarily the website and understanding the office.
Brad basically said what I was going to say, but I was actually an intern here before I was a technology manager. And the piece of advice I was given for the interview is to go to patents.google.com and learn how to search there. Start with something you're familiar with and just see what certain patents look like in a field you're familiar with to get started.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Aiden?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Um, my name is Aiden Fernandez. I'll be doing a Master of Science in Management. Actually, that kind of was basically what I was going to ask, sort of how to prepare for the interview a little bit, but maybe the scope of this question is a little bit too we'll ask too much of you folks, but maybe for the current interns, do you have any advice for how you approach analyzing patentability versus commercialization? Because I'm sure there's probably some technologies that are patentable, but maybe not commercially viable.
I can start. I guess for me, what I think about patentability is sort of more like a threshold question, where it's like I would rather, I think, right, for the techs that like are warrant patenting, because there's certain things that like can't get patents depending on when they are. But like if it's something that can be patented, I think the threshold is can it be patented, or like is there too much other, are there too many other people playing here? And if there is, and if you can get a patent, then I think you move on to the next question of is it commercializable? Because I think as your question points out, like there's a difference between the two, but I think like first you want to see whether you can get the patent protection, because if you can't get patent protection, then you can't move on to question two of like whether you can commercialize it, I would think.
Yeah, so you're like Marco said, like first check is always is it patentable or not? Because then you're not really going to waste too much time trying to see if it's going to be something worth investing in. Because patents are fairly expensive. Like it's like about $40,000 to get a patent. So you want to make sure that if, essentially you were going to pay for that much money to protect this IP, is it something other people would want to like use from you? Like, is it worth protecting, basically, is kind of like how I looked at it. And so then you're looking at, okay, like Marcus said, how many other players are there? Are they all doing the same thing? Where it's kind of like, all right, how many variations are there of like a bouncy ball? Okay, well, then it's probably not worth this new cool one, right? But when you're talking about like maybe a drug that's never been made before that hits a target no one's ever been able to do, you're kind of like, whoa, this would be super worth it because, as people know, like you would want to ideally invest in something that would help human health. So it kind of becomes that, toss up of, you know, is it something other people would want? And because they're the ones that are going to pay for it.
Bora?
Hi, I have another question. So, I have a question for like interns. So, could you share an example of like a recent project of maybe like innovation of like commercialization of a project you guys worked on, and how was the process like?
Well, Heather, how do you want us to answer this? Because I'll say a lot of the work we do is confidential because again, it's
Oh,
protected IP, so you don't really want
Yeah,
to
that's kind of hard
explain.
to answer in a general way. It's a pretty specific question, which unfortunately, yeah.
I see.
But like we
Well,
can use the sweet corn example from with the rigs. Like that's an example is if you have someone like rigs where it's already designed as a licensee or someone that's going to pay for your rights for this corn, then you might be more inclined to say, okay, yeah, let's do this new corn variety because we know rigs will buy it. So like that's
mhm.
a really easy example of saying, yeah, we're going to go ahead and patent this because someone is interested in it. Sometimes there's no person that's interested, but it's like cool enough, that other people may if you advertise it well enough. So I would say without breaking the confidentiality, that's like the best answer I can give you.
Okay, thank you.
I'd also like to chime in just from a broad perspective of you'll be working maybe 10 hours on a single technology and you'll be assessing its commercial feasibility. But in terms of actually getting it licensed to a company, that can take a very long time. It could take years after you finish the internship program. So you'll see things at many different stages. And if you're going to the licensing meeting, you'll see things as they move along, but you won't be responsible for necessarily contacting companies and working out those deals. That's what we have the full-time staff for. So you'll be seeing things right at the very beginning.
Got it. Thank you.
And is it Ariane? Am I saying that right?
Yeah, it's Arian.
Ariane.
Yeah. Yes, perfect. Thank you so much for this info session. I learned a lot. I do have one question about just a general workflow of the intern like day to day. I know we touched on this a little bit that it's 10-hour per like case usually, but is there like weeks where there's like a more involved case, so like you need to work more, and then like cases that may be like less work, so then is there like any like fluctuation in terms of a workload week to week basis, or yeah, I don't know if like that's something like you guys can answer.
Well, there's certainly a variation in workload, right? Like there's certain times of the year where there's just going to be more disclosures that are kind of in the works. But like we'd mentioned before, with the whole being able to manage things that are in different stages, right? So you could have a disclosure that's just come in, you need to read through it, and then you have another one that you're almost done with, you're making the slide deck for. So that just kind of varies, yeah, week to week. I wouldn't say it the way you worded it would be more like if it just had one case I was working on for that week, but that's not the case. You generally have anywhere between 4 and 6 at a time that are in different stages. So
I see. Thank you. And also, like, is this more like individual projects usually, or do you work with other interns on certain cases? Like, how does that usually work out?
You always work with a tech manager. I don't know about working with other interns. There's certainly impromptu discussions that are had, but generally only one intern is assigned to a tech and then one tech manager.
yeah, so that technology usually has a tech manager that's it belongs to, and you'll work with that tech manager throughout that case. But the interns do, I mean, that's kind of the importance of being in person half the time is you're able to be in the room with others that maybe are a little bit more of an expert in that field for that case that you have, and you can ask them questions. And, that's why we use Teams to talk to each other in there as well.
I want to emphasize what Heather just said because I was an intern for 2 years and I did not understand chemistry, and being able to turn around in the office and ask someone a basic question saved me hours of Googling. So definitely take advantage of your peers. You'll all be under the same NDA and have access to the same information.
Thank you.
And is it Drove?
Yeah, hi. Good afternoon. My name's Dhruv. I just want to ask you a couple of questions. I know you just said you do accept CPT, like you do accept international students for CPT visas for working over the summer. Just want to add a follow-up question. Do you also accept OPT visa students?
I'm not familiar with what
I
that
think I can
is.
touch on that. So I think as an international student, you can work without any CPD during your semesters because it's like a part-time job which is affiliated with the university. So it's not like you're working in a company which is not affiliated to university and you need a CPT or OPT.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So
Right.
you don't need any CPT during the whatever semester work. I mean, during the semesters, but I'm not sure about the OPT because that's like a job you need to do. So you need to apply for like
Yes.
there are it's quite a mess with the visa situations and everything. So I don't know about that particularly, but no, you don't need the CPT for that.
Yeah, because the thing is, I'm going to be graduating in May 2026. So that's already like I'm looking at the job market right now, and I'd really like to have something on hand instead of just fishing out when there's nothing available. I'd rather work with the university other than other places.
Well, the
One
only thing
thing,
is it is an internship though, so you have to be a student to be able to even accept the position. If you're graduating in May, unfortunately, that would disqualify you.
Right. All right. I'll email you about this because I have a precedence for this, but I'll email you about this.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Well, again, thank you, Marcos and Terrence. Great job. Thanks everybody for attending and good questions. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.